Yeah, I'm gonna try it, see if the rocks are any better. And actually balance these two. You remember when H40 was like, are you gonna balance any wires today? And I was like, no. GG. Well, I take a long time on stabilizers because, you know, to make sure I properly tune them. And with these, I can properly tune them. But it's like with these new ones, you can't really do that. So you run into the issue of how can you mod it so that it doesn't have that ticking anymore. And they give you pre-measures to, you know, they give you these like little holders or ledges, so if there is ticking, that should help with it. But if it doesn't, then what do you do, right? Yeah. But that's why I always take like so long on stabilizers. Yeah. I mean, and also with like new stuff, you know, there's always different versions coming out, and you know, it could just be like a one-off experience that I'm having. So we'll have to see. Don't know if it's just like me having, you know, my experience, but you know, other people with the stabilizers have had like great experience. So I would have to use them more to be able to tell you like, oh yeah, these are like, you know, consistently like this. Versus like basing my experience off one time and being like, oh yeah, it's either good or bad. I feel like you have to try it multiple times before you can actually be like, oh yeah, like they're no bueno, or oh, you know, I just had a bad batch or something like that. Yeah, so it's really hard to say. And if there was such thing as like consistent stabilizers, you know, there would obviously be one stabilizer that everyone gets over the other, but there's a certain science to stabs, which is why there's not necessarily one that's like the best, or it's all like based on preference or your experience and your own experience as like a modifier or a builder. So I'm not gonna make any judgment on this yet because this is my first time using it. But I mean, I've had bad experiences with Durox too. But with what Carlos said, yeah, at least with Durox, you can modify them. But you know, sometimes a bad stab is just a bad stab. Like, no amount of modifying it can save it. It can probably make it a little better, but you know, sometimes just replacing the wire or replacing the stabilizer completely is